Hello, Grandmasters. Mike Amori. Welcome back to the WCA. We had our first week in the fall 2019 semester, and a bunch of nice kids. We have a couple that, I'm not crazy about. I won't mention names. Sophie, Luca. But otherwise, we really had some good classes. You are looking at the end of a game between Leah and Ben P. And this was a really, really good game. And this is the final position. This is when I had to tell everybody to get out because the next group was coming in. And if you put this position on a computer, the computer says that, white has a slight advantage because I think they're up by 1 point. You'll see that Ben has a couple of bishops here on the board. Hopefully that mouse is working. You can see it. But Leah has an exchange, meaning a rook for a minor piece. And that would give her some advantage, especially if she can work on these open files. But, this is not so easy. Ben has an extra pawn, and bishops can be really annoying, especially when you have two of them. You can just imagine these bishops cutting all over the place. But I'm showing the game because of this final position, which is real chess. There aren't any unexplainable moves or crazy positions. I was very, very impressed. Plus, the notation was beautiful for both players. Okay, let's take a look how these grandmasters got to this position. It starts off with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, moves we've seen a gazillion times. Knight c3 leading into what could become a 4 knights, a 3 knights, and Ben decides to play the move bishop to c5. And we've talked a great deal about being careful with this move unless you really know what you're doing, because Leah could, if she wanted to, go for the move knight takes e5, the center fork trick. So please be aware of that. As black or white, it can happen to either side. And the purpose of this trick is after knight takes e5, you're not losing a piece. I think everyone knows how you get your piece back. You have to fork those two. And most players with black prefer to keep the bishop, so they'll play maybe bishop d6. You take your piece, they take their pawn back. And I'm going to show a game next week that featured the move f4, which is a pretty sharp move to play in this position because you're moving a pawn kind of on the side of the board with your king in the middle. But there's not a whole lot that black can do about it. In the game I'm going to show, the bishop took the knight, and when you take back, you can make arguments for both sides that, perhaps black is happy because they shattered white's pawns, and it's true that white does have a lot of pawn weaknesses, and their king is slightly exposed. And white could make the argument that they have a very strong center because these pawns are guarding terrific squares, and they have a couple of bishops in an open game. So I'll show you the game next week. But this didn't happen because Leah decided not to go for the center fork trick, and she played the move bishop to b5. Now, I'm not going to show you this whole game move for move. I'm going to take you to, I already showed you the end, right? I'm going to take you to positions, and I'm going to call them set positions. Positions I want you to look at for a minute, perhaps pause the video, and then see if we're in agreement about what the video is talking about. If you're not, or you have a question, obviously come into class. So the center fork trick was one position. So again, pause your video and make sure you understand that white can play the move here, knight takes e5. Okay? Okay. Now, the actual game, Leah decided to develop her bishop. Ben played d6, all fine developing moves, castle, knight g to e7. And it's here where I want to have you stop the video again. There are a lot of moves that players can do in this position as white. If you put this on a computer, one of the main moves that's played is a pawn break, and it's a move that comes up over and over again in WCA games where players with white or black don't really play them. And the move that I want to draw your attention to is the move d4 in this position. And if d4 takes place, let's say black captures, you take back with the knight, and you've accomplished something as white. The position is still equal. Black is fine here, but you'll notice that the knight on c6 is pinned. So you can't take this knight with the knight. If you take with the bishop here, you're just inviting the queen into the center of the board, and you'll notice that the board is open and the remaining white pieces can really flow into the game, okay? Let me take you to the move that Leah played. In this position, she played knight d5, which moves the same piece twice without really activating the rest of the army, which is very important, guys, that you don't move the same piece twice unless you have a good reason. So I think she was trying to get Ben to maybe take here and take advantage of this pin, but he just ignored it and played the move bishop to d7. She developed, and here I want to turn the board around. I'm always amazed at how quickly I can do this. And I want you to study this position for a minute. If you're playing black, you can see that white has like this really strong move in the center, knight rather, and your knights are kind of stuck. And I want to draw your attention again. What does it mean to draw attention? Do you use a crayon to draw attention? Always troubled me. You know what else bothered me? I always wondered, if you drop a bar of soap in the mud, does it get dirty? Anyway, here, if I'm black, I might think about taking that knight. Now, I know I'm putting a white pawn right in the middle of the board, but I have this nice e7 square for my knight, and now I'm asking this bishop a question, like, what do you want to do? And if you continue to trade with me, I'll take with my queen, and I think kind of the congestion that black had is gone, and, you know, the queen allows the king to castle on either side. I might think about playing f5 someday, and I think black is doing okay there. So if we take it back, Ben castled. Now remember, we're looking at this from the black side now, all right? Leah plays bishop to g5. Maybe we should kick that bishop away. And I'm pretty sure I know why Ben didn't do that. He was probably worried about that diagonal, but I think he gets away with f6. The move he played, I could have easily played myself, turned out to be a big mistake that I didn't see when I went over this game. The computer found it in a second. He played rook e8. And when you see rook e8, it's like, what could possibly be wrong with that move? Pause your video. Let me see if you guys can find the amazing move that white could have played. While you were thinking, I turned the board around. Amazing I can do that so quickly. You guys find it? It's the move knight f6 check. What? Crazy, man. It's not crazy. If you take that knight, which is the obvious thing to do, the bishop is going to take back. And you have all sorts of problems preventing this knight and this queen joining this bishop in an attack against the king. After you get checked, you can try to move your king, I don't know, to f8. You see this rook up here that can be taken with the knight? Nah. How about I'll just take another pawn check? The king goes to g8, and I'll play the same exact move, knight f6. This is really good for white and almost impossible to see. Really, really cool stuff. So after rook e8, I don't blame Leah for missing this. It's not an easy move to find. She played knight h4. And I like her idea. She wants to swing another piece into the attack and opens a line for her queen. And now in this position, the players trade blunders. Ben plays knight to d4. And here Leah missed a chance to win a little bit of material. Do you guys see how? Just stop your video, please. Yeah, just make some trades. Take the bishop. Queen takes. Take the knight. The rook takes, and you win a rook for a bishop here. Queen takes, and now probably I would play just knight f5, attacking the queen and the knight, and I'm really not afraid if they double my f-pawns because I have a rook for a minor piece. And I mean, it's going to take some work, but this is pretty good for white. But check it out. the players trade blunders. Ben missed that, and then Leah missed it and played c3, kicking the knight. But what she didn't realize was the bishop was being attacked twice up there. So this would have been pretty good for him as well. She takes on e7, rook takes, bishop takes, queen takes, and we had this position on the board, and it looks like you can win a piece here because this knight doesn't have any good squares to go to. But did anybody notice this knight over here is being attacked? Yeah, we can just take that knight, and black is doing really, really well here. So let me just go back. After queen takes e7, queen h5 was played. And in this position, all you have to do is kick the queen. And after a move like queen h6 that was played in the game, all you need to do as black is make an escape square for this knight, and you're fine. Maybe, I don't know, you can pause the video, but maybe a move like a5. And in this position, the queen doesn't have anybody helping her attack, and black is just better. But what happened after a whole series of trades and maneuvers, I don't want to get into the game, but Leah ended up getting this knight trapped. I'll put the queen back here for a minute. This is the game continuation. But this knight ended up getting hit with the move a4 a little bit later, and it had to give itself up. And we ended up with the position I started with, okay? But just a quick video, you know, great start. I'll put some notes in the blog. Watch the video, come in with questions, drop out of school, study chess 8 hours a day. I'm just kidding, parents. I'll see you guys.